So here we learned how we can pass in an argument to a function definition so that the function definition can perform a certain job. The argument can be a value or the argument can be a variable. So now what I want to talk about is the fact that you can pass in more than one argument to a function definition. Okay, so let's go ahead and say new Python file, and let's say less than, or let's put here 2 arguments. Okay, so here we have 2 arguments. Now what I want to do is take this function definition, the greater than function definition, and let's use it here. Okay, and instead of getting the number to be inputted in the function definition, let's have the number inputted outside of the function definition. So let's do like that. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me go and change this up a little bit. So the function definition for, the function call to greater, we don't want to take in 1 argument. We want to take in 2 arguments. So I want to pass in the number 4 and the number 5. And I don't want this to tell me if it's positive or negative. I want to tell me which one is greater. Okay, so how can we do this? Well, that means if we set up if we pass in 2 arguments to the function definition for greater, that means we need to receive 2 parameters, right? We need to create 2 parameters. So I could say num1 and num2. Right. So if I run this program, it's going to ignore line 1 to 5, do 6, 7, 8. On line 8, we have 2 arguments that are being passed to greater. So it's going to jump up to line 1, and num1 is going to be equal to 4, and num2 is going to be equal to the 5. All right. So now in the if, what I want to say is if num1 is greater than num2, then I could print out and I could say str num underscore 1 plus is greater than str num underscore 2. Okay, and then on the else I could say is less than, or maybe I could, this is greater, the function name is greater than, so maybe I just want to change this and say no, num2 is greater than num1. And if we really wanted to be exact, we could have this not be an else, but have it be an else if, and say else if num underscore 2 is greater than num underscore 1, right? Because if num2 is equal to num1, then this would not be true, and then it would print out that num2 is greater than num1, but we don't want that, right? So we could say if it's greater than, do that. If it's the num2 is greater than, do that. And then on the else, we could print out something like the numbers are equal, right? So let's go ahead and try running this and see if it works. Right click, run 2 arguments. Right here it says num5 is greater than num4. Right? I pass in the 4 and the 5, and it gives me the correct answer. Let's pass in 14 and 5. 14 is greater than 5. Right? Let's pass in 14 and 14. The numbers are equal. Okay. So again, we don't need to pass in actual numbers. We can also pass in variables. Right? So I could say like num1, or let me say first num is equal to input. Enter a number, enter the first number, and then I could have second num is equal to input, enter the second number, and then in greater, the call to greater, I'm going to pass in the first num and the second num. So this time I'm not passing in values, I'm passing in variables, and it's going to pass in the value that's inside of that variable and the value that's inside of that variable. So I run this program. I'm going to enter my first number of 15, my second number of 6, and when I hit enter, it's going to jump up from line 13. It's going to give it 15. It's going to give it 6. It's going to come up to line 1. 15 is going to be here. 6 is going to be here. And it's going to run the code and do whatever it is that it's going to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit enter here. And it says 15 is greater than 6. I run it again. I put 6 and 15. It says 15 is still greater than 6. Okay. So this is a way that you can pass in more than one argument. Now, I showed you how to pass in 2. But you can pass in 3, you can pass in 4, you can pass in any number of arguments. Just make sure that they are separated with a comma. And also, if you pass in, let's say, 4 arguments to a function, then you need to list 4 parameters in the function definition.